Hello and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott. I'm joined once again by Michelle, and we are here to break down a big PLE from last night. Of course, we're talking about Elimination Chamber, and we're talking about some things that happened on the show that were fun, exciting, disappointing, a bit of a letdown, over-delivered, pretty much all of the above. I think this show pretty much covers every kind of range of emotion. So we're going to be getting deep into that right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, and we've got a lot of action to be talking about last night, Michelle. Firstly, before we dig into this match per match, give me your overall vibe and feeling about Elimination Chamber, what we witnessed last night.
It was really good, and it delivered in a different way to how I expected it to. Actually,
okay.
I think there was so much hype around the main event, which is quite unusual, like we said yesterday, for the PLE between Mania and Rumble. And I think as a PLE, it held its own really well. But like you said in the intro, there were some bits that were under-delivered and some bits that were over-delivered, and we'll get into that when we go through the matches, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, a big part of that is the main event, as we were talking quite a lot on the build-up last night. And for anyone that didn't join us or doesn't quite know what we're talking about, the build-up show is where we kind of get ourselves and yourselves hyped up for the event as well. So we were covering it in depth, of course, last night. A lot of special guests, and once again, thank you to everyone that tuned in, but also everyone that joined us as a guest as well. But basically, a big part of that conversation throughout the night was the Sami Zayn match against Roman Reigns. We were all pretty sure Sami wasn't winning it, and we were all pretty happy with, I guess, whichever way they decided to go with it. But I got to be honest, I was a little let down by some of it as far as, well, the way I felt last night. And I was hoping I'd feel a bit better about it today. And I kind of don't. Maybe that's tiredness creeping in there. But hey, I'm not fully down on that match. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot I did enjoy about it. But before we get to the main event, I guess the best place to start, Michelle, is usually the very beginning. Of course, we started out with the women's Elimination Chamber match.
We did.
What did you think about this one overall?
Now, I obviously really like the women's wrestling, and I'm a big advocate of it. And I was talking yesterday in the build-up about this as an opportunity for some of the less big names to shine. It was okay. It was okay. I think for me, I was really pleased Natalya got the pop she did, and I think she put a really good, solid show on. But like we were saying, she generally is a safe pair of hands in the ring anyway. I'm great to see Asuka in there. I'm going to say something. I don't like to be that person that hates on particular wrestlers, but I'm sorry. Carmella has just come back. Why is she a part of the main event picture so quickly? Why was she one of the last two in the ring? She had no right. I know that sounds mean, but there are so many other women that have been doing it and could have been in that last two with Asuka and put on a much better show with Asuka, I think. There were bits that were good. I felt they could have done more. It felt just, you had some quite technical wrestlers in there, and I just don't think it lived up to what it could have been. It wasn't bad at all.
Okay.
In comparison to what we've seen a lot of the girls do recently, I think there was scope to go further with it. Definitely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, interesting. Of course, the big kind of point there will probably be about Carmella. I didn't think it was too far of a stretch for her to be in the match because there's 6 people in it. But I get what you're saying. Still, she would be somewhere down the pecking order because she's not been around. But then again, the returns always kind of shove you into the limelight anyway. So it's not that out of the ordinary. But the match itself and her kind of contribution to the match, I think was quite good. I think she did perform quite well. I know what you're saying, though. If someone else,
in line with kind of her character and her skill set, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. She played her role perfectly. But I get what you're saying with as far as if you're putting on like a clinic at the end of the match with Asuka, then maybe Carmella is not the person you go with. But it kind of fits its kind of purpose, I think. I really did enjoy her work kind of hiding in the pod and stuff like that. And then kind of Raquel getting throwing Nikki through the pod and then Carmella running into another and stuff like that. But I bring up two names there I do want to kind of touch on. Firstly, Nikki Cross with the cross body, confusingly, off of the top of the pod was a great spot. It's great seeing the old version of Nikki Cross, but although she's got a character back, I still feel that she's somewhat lost in the shuffle, not fully being taken seriously. Raquel, though, however, seems to be taken very seriously. And we talked about last night how it looks like a lot of times WWE seem to be talking about the future, which has been great. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan as well, building new stars. Raquel seems to be the one that everyone's got their eyes on. And please, nobody, especially Raquel fans, take this the wrong way. I don't think she's quite there yet. I thought she was she performed quite well in this, but she's still very sloppy in my opinion. And there's a mistake or two in her, and that worries me in a big match in a big stage like this.
She was so I was watching with a friend of mine who made a really good point, and I'm going to rip off her point here completely because I agree with you. They're trying to build her as like another big strong girl, like I was saying yesterday, but she doesn't have the brute power that Rhea and Bianca have. Like you can see when she's putting some of those big lifts in, she's struggling a little bit with it. And she's got the potential, definitely, but I would agree. I don't think she's quite there yet because she's still doing this whole smiley, it's just so nice to be here thing. And it's like, we've had that before.
Yeah, it might be better if she's a heel, like a proper like mean street heel. But it's even still, like you say, that some of the things she does, maybe is the way. I don't want to critique anyone's lifting techniques or anything like that. She'll probably beat me up. But I don't. Something's missing for me there, and I just feel like she's been quite. She's not. Look, she's not going to be the finished article. But this is why I'm glad they didn't go with her yesterday, because that was my big concern. That just because she is the obvious choice for next doesn't mean she's ready yet, and that was what I was really worried about. And I do think she's good, and I think she's improving. But I just feel I'm glad they didn't pull the trigger with her because I don't think she's ready yet.
I think another one. I'm going to get a lot of heat for this as well. For me, Liv Morgan.
Oh, see, I'm the 100% opposite to this. My notes was how much she's improved.
I think she's a good wrestler. I think she's improved. Okay. She's got some high risk spots. She's got the look. She's got her character. There's something about it. I'm just not buying it from her.
I think character-wise,
obviously,
because they played into this whole kind of passing out thing. Remember a few months back where she was laughing with Ronda, which it feels like a new character twist they're trying to do. I think they're lost character-wise with Liv, and I think that's the problem with Liv at the moment. As far as the performance goes, I thought she was fantastic in this event. I think it was a real contrast to Raquel. It's someone again that Liv, not that she was ever bad, but I think the last 2 years you've seen her improvement, and I think last night's in-ring side of things with Liv. She shined, and it showed just how good she is.
I can't put my finger on it. I just feel like there's a little something missing with her. They seem to be going down this almost Harley Quinn type route with her character.
I think it's the confusion of the character for me.
She's good. I just don't quite buy her as a champion or a main eventer, really.
It's like something needs to. Because it was all about the underdog and finally get there and being appreciative. But then that was fine. But now what? Like, what do we do now? Yeah.
And there's like, she seems to have like quite a strong following on social media, doesn't she? But when you watch the show, she doesn't quite get the pop live that you'd think she would.
I think she was, though, in the build up to becoming champ.
Yeah. And then it just went a bit flat.
Yeah, I think it has fallen a bit flat, and I think they know that, and that's why they are kind of somewhat changing up her character, but still not fully sure on what it is, So it'd be interesting to see where they go with it.
I was wondering whether part of it was they got Sarah Logan back, and I was wondering if they were hoping to get Ruby back and reform the Riot Squad, and that hasn't happened, so they've now had to take a different avenue with Liv or something. I don't know. She wasn't bad. Part of me was kind of glad she didn't last ages and ages and ages in the chamber. She had that moment, she lasted a really long time at the Rumble, and I think it was for someone else to have the airtime at this PLE, definitely.
Yeah, no, some good points there. We get a great double elimination on Raquel. So as much as I'm, still saying she's not quite there yet, I think you want to build her to look like she is, and keep her strong. So that was quite good. And of course, the winner being the one that I think most of us were predicting, which was Asuka. And I do think Asuka versus Bianca Belair, while it, as I said earlier on in the week in our main prediction show, doesn't feel like a ready-made storyline. That's like, of course, this is where they're going. But I do think they can make it something quite special. I'm not sure where they're going with a babyface heel dynamic. I think surely Bianca's staying a babyface, but I don't know what Asuka's doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she's doing. I feel like they're trying to turn her heel, but a little bit like with the Becky Lynch man thing, it might not work. People might still want her to be a face. I mean, yeah, like you said with the storyline, I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but they are two very, very gifted performers, very gifted wrestlers that will find a way to make it work. The Bianca being babyface thing for me, again, I think she's amazing, but she's been a babyface for a long time now, and it's starting to do this a little bit. And I wonder if there is a change coming for her around Mania time, because they're trying to build as basically Mrs. WrestleMania, really, aren't they, based on her last few?
I guess that's how you could play off of that. If there is a heel turn from Bianca, it happens after Mania, where she's annoyed at Asuka, who's also a babyface. You know, face versus face. Bianca doesn't quite live up to the kind of honor that they maybe go into it being acting like, oh, we respect each other, and at the end of it turns out I don't respect you because you've taken my title or something like that. That could be a way to turn Bianca, because I agree. I do think she needs to kind of freshen it up. Been a fan of her since her NXT days when she was a heel. Fan of her in WWE, of course, so much so that I kind of explained that how her being a role model even inspires someone like me to kind of pretend to be Bianca Belair and whip my hair around when she enters into the ring as well. So it's I think it's been a great character, but it's an easy character to turn into a heel as well. I'm the best, I'm the roughest, I'm the toughest, blah blah blah, is great. Going, I'm great, ain't I great? We all like me, but then turn it on its head and going, I'm great. So like, seriously, I'm the best. But yeah, it could turn quite quickly, and that's how the character started anyway in NXT. So for me, I'm very excited to see a heel Bianca run, but whether or not we're getting it anytime soon, I don't know.
I think she gave an interview a little while ago where she said she's really enjoying being a face and having the crowd cheer for her, and she wasn't keen on the idea of going heel.
Yeah, especially when it's very public. I mean, they've done it with Becky and Seth before, where they've kind of switched on and babyface and heel, and you've known they were together in real life. I'm talking about Montez Ford, of course, who will come up later on as a big babyface kind of push at the moment, but maybe that's a concern. But I'm not really sure, because she's somewhat aligned to them on TV as far as people are aware of it and whatever else.
And
but
we know if there's ever a draft, they'll always be drafted to the same show, because
so maybe they can
maybe
do it like they did with Becky and Seth, where one was a heel and a face, and it's fine. But hey, we'll see. Let's move on then. Go on.
I was just saying, we also do need to remember though that not all the Mania matches have to be about long running feuds, because there's going to be enough big matches with big stories around them. Do they just have it as a standalone championship match? Because it does happen sometimes. Maybe there isn't a need to build a story. And
yeah, it's just these two wrestlers who are good. One's the champ, one's the title. Not much to go beyond that. To be fair, it could be built up like that. But talking about big stories and big matches, we were hinted to a big story coming out of this, and not much happened, I'll be honest, as far as the Bray Wyatt hints. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe we'll see something on SmackDown. But at this moment in time, Bray Wyatt has nothing to do with either of these men, even though he and Uncle Howdy professed that would be their target. But what we did see, though, is a big match between these two guys. Didn't go on too long. Wasn't too short either. Another great showing between the two, working together, I think, personally. And it's just what you expect from these guys, You see Bobby leaning into the heel thing more, which I think has been good. He got a lot of boos for his third spear. Yes, that's the right, third spear. You know what these matches are like, multiple finishes. And then, of course, it ends with Brock going on a crazy rampage. We didn't see the Hurt Business. We didn't see Bray Wyatt, but we did see Brock going wild. What are you thinking of this?
Well, he did it at the Rumble as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it's like his new gimmick, like Temper Brock.
Right, I'm going to put it out there. And again, wildly unpopular opinion, I don't like Brock Lesnar. I never have. I probably never will. This whole Farmer Brock thing, I just find it a bit annoying.
Oh, mate. All right. We're against each other here as well.
But with him going on those two rampages, because he doesn't work a full-time contract, does he? So I wonder if they're just opening the door for him to have a suspension and have a bit of time off. Could do. That's a good point, actually.
6 weeks away from Mania. He probably doesn't need to be around too much to build whatever it is he's going to be working on. So yeah, that's a good way, because they're doing something with his character, that he's snapping and kind of going against the thing. But I like the way that they kind of played into is Brock desperate? He didn't know how to get out of that, so he went for the low blow. It's not something we usually see
Probably
Brock
got into
doing.
his head, yeah.
Yeah, especially when he's somewhat of a baby face. So that was an interesting thing. Funny that he went after the ref, and clearly you could tell the second one on the ref wasn't planned. And that seems to be the word coming out of it at the moment as well.
I've heard that there was some stuff at the Rumble he did that wasn't planned and got him a little bit of a telling off.
Good point. I forgot about that. Yeah. But maybe that's just leaks to kind of lead into this kind of possible suspension to kind of really blur the the lines of it as well.
Pierce coming out on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it. Of course, we got F5 to the ref, F5 through the table, F5 to the ref again. Even when his music hit, he was picking up the ref for another F5. So that's what made me think that were planned. And then he looked at that weird undisputed title that's been, it was like a custom title, I think, or maybe it's one they sell, I don't know.
In the crowd.
So in the crowd, he just looked at it as if he was like, yeah, I want that. Like, but surely he's not going into the title picture, so that's confusing. The only leak I can see is that is a customized version or expanded version of the title that he held in his original run. But other than that, I didn't really understand the connection there, so that was a bit.
He isn't a part of the title picture at the moment.
Well, I hope he's not going to be at least. So.
Well, there's no need. They would be silly to put him in the title picture at the moment. There's enough going on with that already. They don't need to. It was okay. I think it was. I found when Bobby and Brock face off, it can sometimes just be a bit, really, again?
Yeah.
It didn't feel as much like that last night, but it wasn't a match I was massively excited for.
Okay, it was quick and to the point, did what it needed to do, as we like to say on this channel quite a lot, and I think that's all you can really give it. And I think intrigue where it goes with Brock, intrigue as to why Bray didn't show up. We were all a bit annoyed that that's even a thing going on last night, but there we go. Well, we're going to go somewhere with it, I'm sure.
Why does he want the winner of this match? Like I said, it makes no sense.
I mean, Don brought up a good point last night that it could lead towards a Bray faction versus Hurt Business, which I do like the idea that if it means we're getting back to Hurt Business of finally getting some clarity Bray situation. But if it's not that, those two guys don't mesh for me, so I don't understand it. But there we go. Bobby Lashley wins because of a DQ. It's just another example of this match not getting its full blow off and what it kind of deserves. I know you're not the biggest fan of Brock, but I feel like this is, a WrestleMania worthy match, and I don't think we're going there with it. So it's, again, confusion, but at the same time, the match and contained within the storyline on the night, I felt was quite good. So not a bad one there. No, I was really shocked. I tweeted out last night. Brock going on second just felt surreal. He's one of those kind of I'm first or last kind of guys, it seems to me. So the fact he went on second felt quite interesting.
Well, he did allegedly get quite a lot of preferential treatment under the old regime, didn't he? And actually, I think there's one thing that the new regime are making clear is it's on their terms. I guess so.
Terms. I mean, it doesn't fit anywhere else on this card. It shouldn't have gone anywhere else. It should have opened with a chamber because you had to separate the chambers anyway. It definitely weren't going on last. So it fits, but it
fits into what happened on Raw last week as well when Bobby went, this is not the Brock Lesnar show. We're not doing things on your terms. So maybe they're leaning into that a little bit more.
Maybe. And maybe that's why he threw a little bit of a hissy fit at the end of it as well. Who knows? But either way, decent match. Of course, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Will we see it again? I'd like to think so.
But maybe I don't want rounds 4 and 5.
It's a big. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the next match, though. Of course, now talking about the Judgment Day taking on the Grit couple. Now, this is one that, again, a lot of us were kind of torn on last night as far as who wins, why do they win, where do we go with this? Because does Rhea need to look strong? Does Edge and Beth need to get the win back because of them kind of being like obliterated earlier on in this feud and stuff like that? First of all, overall thoughts on this match, Michelle?
While I really wanted the Judgment Day to win, I'm actually glad Beth and Edge did, because I am getting a little bit bored of the Edge coming back to seek vengeance on the Judgment Day angle. Hopefully that's put that to bed. I really like the fact that they let Beth and Rhea carry the match, because let's be frank, we've seen Edge and Balor a bunch of times. We've all been waiting for Beth versus Rhea, and that's really what this match was about. And I think they had enough from Finn and Edge and a little bit from Dom in terms of intervention to spice it up and give it some dynamic and make it feel like a mixed tag match. But ultimately, it was about Beth and Rhea, and I think they really stepped up and carried the match really, really well. Two very, very strong female wrestlers, very evenly matched at points. A nice combination of brute force and some technical work as well, which you see in the ring. So I think the match did what it needed to do, as you would say. It served its purpose. It was a decent enough length. Obviously, the running order meant that the priest couldn't be out there with the rest of Judgment Day. But I've noticed
even that I like doing the kind of, he's busy, he's got focus elsewhere, you know, like.
Well, I've noticed a few times recently they haven't had all 4 members of the Judgment Day there. And that's kind of the point behind having a faction as well. You don't all come out for everything, and it just has a bit more flexibility. So I enjoyed the match. I think all 4 of the wrestlers are very, very gifted wrestlers, you know, so they would have had to really messed it up badly for it not to be enjoyable, I think.
That's a good point. It was a recipe for success, and thankfully they used those ingredients wisely, especially like you say, the 2 women kind of doing the bulk of the work. It felt still the guys, don't get me wrong, they pulled their weight and stuff like that, and even Dom on the outside, as you said, get chased away, coming back and stuff like that was really entertaining. Finn Balor running underneath the ring was quite a comical moment as well, and quite clever, and just kind of fits in with his character at the moment as well. So that was pretty cool. Of course, towards the end we get a double educator, you know, one from Beth, one from Edge, and with the, you know, the classic of, you know, a tag partner trying to prevent their tag partner from tapping, which really kind of shined in the early NXT days. But good to see it on the main roster with Rhea trying to prevent Finn from tapping. I thought that was really entertaining, as much as again it is a repeated spot. I do like seeing it. One kind of sloppy moment. Did you notice that Beth seemed to be too late for a breakup of a pin, so the ref just stopped counting?
It was no.
So at that point, I was like, okay, so it used to be, well, there was this rumor before that they were just told, look, you have to just count, right? And obviously, if it brings up problems, it brings up problems. Now, that's the real issue if there's a title on the line or something like that. So what that told me was either it meant that Edge and Beth were going to win, which of course turned out to be the answer, or it meant that the others were going to win, but a massive spot was yet to happen, which I thought was the case when they were doing all the work outside the ring. But it looked like it was the former really of the Grit couple are supposed to win this, which isn't that important if they did mess it up as far as where either person goes next. But at the same time, it was a little bit unfortunate.
There were a few, not just that, there were a few throughout the PLE, a few very, very slow counts and very, very sloppy breakups. But yes, I do like I'm pretty sure his knuckle grazed the canvas at one point. I was like, sure that was the thing.
Yeah, it was an awkward one, and I think they got away with it because I haven't seen too many people talking about it, to be fair. And that's, you know, credit to the match itself for kind of having a lot more things to talk about than that. So that was really good. More extra spots as far as the women goes. Great with the power bombs and Beth fighting off Rhea on the steps. As I said, that big spot seemed like we're getting on the outside. And then, yeah, that kind of double team finisher from Edge and Beth. I saw the press conference a little bit earlier today, and apparently they said they hadn't even tried that move together before. So the fact they pulled it off so smoothly, we're talking about, you know, potential for kind of disaster here and things not quite mixing well. It was a great little ending to that match.
Yeah, I think it went really well. One thing we haven't really talked about was Beth catching Dom, who hit the ropes. So Finn came down, and actually we're starting to see more and more little things around Dom causing errors for the Judgment Day. Is that pointing to something a long way down the line with them? And
good point. Well, like you say, I mean, we talked about this quite a bit last night, didn't we, on the build-up show again? So, of course, that show is all about getting yourself and ourselves hyped up for a PLE. But as often we often say, a lot of people seem to be watching it after the PLE as well, just because there are so many kind of interesting kind of, you know, to our own homes conversations that we get into there as well about the future and what we like to see going forward as far as the WWE goes and these storyline progressions, as far as whether or not the predictions, you know, do come to fruition on the PLE themselves. Some of these conversations are still relevant beyond that. So feel free to give that a watch, guys, if you haven't already. And again, a shout out to everyone that did join us on yesterday's show. Here's a little kind of reminder of who they were, just in case you didn't get to see it and you do fancy popping in because you see one of these names or maybe all 4 of them exciting you to see what they had to say on this very channel. But if you did see it, please give them a follow, guys. We do appreciate everyone that joins us here, whether or not part of the Rebellious Noise family officially, like Michelle is joining us on the wrestling channel, the football channel, places like that, or you're one of our friends from the wrestling media popping in. We appreciate them just as much as we appreciate everyone that watches these shows as well. Let's move on though, Michelle. Let's get on to the men's Chamber match. We're flying through this, but to be fair, it felt like that as far as the show goes as well. It was very nicely paced, I got to say.
Yeah, and we got to a point where we'd already done 2 matches out of 4 before 2 a.m. and I thought, oh, is it going to be one of those short ones? But actually, no, they did pace it really, really well. The men's chamber was brilliant.
It was, yeah. I mean, better than I expected. I think the women's one was good, but I think this one surprised me in just how good it was, which makes no sense really when you think about it with the guys that are in it. Because
we discussed on the build-up yesterday about them being 6 very different types of wrestlers. So you got a bit of everything in this, and I think they just paced it out perfectly. Like I thought it was a really, really, really well executed. Obviously, there are a couple of spots that could have gone a little bit sideways, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. But I thought it was such a good, and I think none of them, even Theory, came out of that looking bad.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a fantastic performance from a lot of them. I think the one I was least kind of interested in seeing is, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, but it was Bronson Reed, because I just haven't been that kind of interested in what's happened since he come back. The obvious thing to do is make him a monster heel and just kind of hard to beat, and they did that perfectly. Talking about the Raquel thing in the women's, we did the same thing here with Bronson Reed in the men's. And I tweeted out last night, again, guys, if you don't already, follow us at RN Pro Wrestling as far as this channel goes, at Reb Noise, that's REBNOISE for main Rebellious Noise content as well. But myself at Scott_Reb Noise. And I was basically saying that this US title match has reminded me of what it used to feel like to watch an NXT takeover. And I mean that as a huge compliment. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it, and what I mean by that is, well, the match reminded me of an NXT takeover, and it making sense is because a lot of these guys come through NXT at different times. Some of these guys didn't actually face off in NXT together, especially, Seth Rollins in the very early part of it. But it had that, the hallmarks of a great NXT takeover multi-man match. And man, it was so exciting. It reminded me of what NXT used to be, and that was a bit disheartening. But at the same time, it made me think, man, look at what they've created. Look at the future. So it's so cool to see. But yeah, a lot of these guys work so well together, like we said earlier on, contrasting styles and things like that. But everybody shined very well in this match. And Gargano was my biggest fear, actually, as well as Bronson Reed, because that's not. And I love Gargano, So when I say this isn't me dissing the guys. It's just it hasn't. The spark's not been there. But that moment last night, that entire match, I think reminded people, Johnny, wrestling's a thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really like Gargano, and like you, I feared for him a bit because he's not really picked up the traction since the comeback, but he really held his own last night in that match. Really held his own and really showed why Triple H was right to bring him back. 100%. He really shone. He came out of it looking great. The dynamic between him and Seth as well.
Starting the match as well. Great start, seeing them two. I mean, we knew we were in for a ride when it starts like that, Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I'm not as interested in Bronson Reed, but it got me interested in his character.
Yeah,
I could see where they were going with the big strengthening, but for me, Gargano really, really held his own. Theory, obviously, he's meant to be that slightly Carmella-esque type character where he goes and hides in the pods and wants other people to do the dirty work for him. It's part of his role, and he played that perfectly. Montez Ford had an absolute blinder,
as expected, but still can't take away from the fact that he did deliver. It was amazing. I think
genuinely thought he was injured.
They played it well, but I think it was all about getting Logan Paul in the ring. I think it was very clever. Again, just a credit to the performance from Montez that he can kind of make us all go, "Is this legit?" But I think that was him getting his flowers.
Definitely. And also then, Priest, who I thought came out of it looking really strong. He's quite athletic for a bigger guy as well. And he seems to have added a couple of slightly more risky moves to his repertoire, like the somersault and over the top rope and everything. And I think he came out of it looking really strong as well. Surprised he went out as early as he did. I thought they were going to play on having him being there for a long time.
I think that's the risk with being in a stable, isn't it? Like you might you get lost in the shuffle because you become part of your faction rather than an individual. But I think, like we said earlier, him not coming out with the rest of the gang early in the night because he had his own business to take care of, and he did perform quite well and shine quite a bit. I think even comedically with talk about Theory, they had a funny little spot together. Theory trying to get Gargano to remember them as friends as the way and go after Seth as well. Like everybody played their role very well. You had the big man in Bronson Reed. You had an intimidating guy in Priest. You know, you had Johnny Gargano with the sympathy, but also showing off just how kind of athletic he is and reminding us who he is. We had Theory as the pesky little heel. You had, you know, it was everyone played. Montez Rose, the acrobatic guy. I mean, that thing on the top where he just spat around and just dropped. It was so cool. So
it was
cool.
good. It was good. You know, yeah, it was the whole. I could have watched that match a bit longer. Actually.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Another thing we got to mention as well. Gargano's Hurricane Runner to Seth on. I thought we were going for a power bomb, and I was like, "Why are they waiting so long?" Like they can't be telling if the people were down there to catch him because neither of them turned back. So they must have just waited a few seconds to be prepared, make sure everyone was there, and trusted that they were. And I still thought it was going to be a power bomb. So for it to be a Hurricane Runner was a real surprise. And I thought
he nearly went a bit awry though, didn't it? He caught himself off the edge of the pod, I think.
Yeah, it was that. It's a tough thing to pull off, you know. It really is. But
I do around the living room all the time.
Yeah, off the top of the sofa. But you know, I thought it was a great match, great showing from all of them. And yeah, we got a lot out of it again. Like, you know, Bronson Reed looked strong. Damian Priest looked like, I remember him a solo guy as well every now and then, you know. And you know, Seth was over as Rover, as they say, and whatever, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they hadn't let Seth come out last, you know, it was really, really obvious. But also, like the commentary team was saying last night, 4 of those guys have never been in a chamber match before.
Yeah.
Theory obviously was in it last year, and well, we all know what happened last year with the man, the F5, wasn't it, on top of the pod?
Yeah.
So he came out of it looking a lot stronger. And obviously, Seth, being a bit like Natalya in the women's, is a very experienced, very safe pair of hands in this kind of scenario. So I think having 4 of them who'd never done a chamber match together in there, it could have been a disaster, but I think
could have been,
balance right. They definitely got the balance right. But with that, it was a brilliant match.
Definitely credit to all of them for getting their roles right, and whoever kind of worked on a match backstage and stuff like that. It was a fantastic show in there as well. One extra thing I do want to mention about Montez though was the way he came out of the pod was like he was so excited. He came out and he was jumping around doing crotch chops, right? Then he goes for people's elbow. I was like, is he in like, I thought he was on like a PS2 game. I was like, it was like he was playing as a video game character, you know, like when you make a character and you give him like DX move, like taunts, and then you give him rock finisher. Oh, and they want to do the tombstone as well. He come out and hit a greatest hits. It felt like he was so jumping all over the over the place and stuff like that. I think it was nice to see though. He just seemed genuinely excited to be in that match.
It was really interesting seeing him come out and do the full Profits entrance by himself. He went a little bit nuts at the start of it, didn't he?
But hey, his excitement added to my excitement. But yeah, no, I will say fantastic match. We you know, just echoing what we said already, but I think also the way it ended was great. You know, again, the clever way to get Logan Paul in, and we go in the right direction with it. You know, we got Austin Theory, looks like leading towards John Cena, although in his press conference he was in character. He basically hinted towards that, but then Edge in his press conference said, I'm going to answer his challenge. So I don't know what's going to happen on Raw, but I'm sure we'll be covering the future of both their storylines in depth on this channel. And then another side of that was, again, Logan Paul getting in, and I thought that's fantastic. Just another way to add kind of fuel to that fire of this storyline that we think is coming, but also last night was fantastic. It turned Logan Paul completely, in my opinion, is now surely a proper babyface. You know, he's been the cool heel for a while, but I think last night. Sorry,
do you think he's a face? Logan Paul?
No. Logan Paul's like straight up heel now. He's straight up heel.
Yeah, you froze a little bit. And yeah, I mean, who mentioned it yesterday? Who mentioned yesterday about Seth and Paul being built up for a Mania match?
Well, all of us. That's kind of the thing around anyway. Yeah,
definitely. I think with Logan Paul, obviously, while he's got the contract, he is part-time, isn't he? So they're probably not going to put a belt on him. And we know Rollins doesn't.
That was the thing. Yeah, that was it. Last night, Andy was saying, I think it was Andy that said that the title might go on Seth so that Logan Paul can take it to be like showing it off in Hollywood and stuff. But yeah, it doesn't look like that's where they're going with it. But of course, the match is still where we are going with it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that that's where we're going to be going at Mania. And I think it'll be a really, really strong match. Look, I don't like Logan Paul, but the matches he's wrestled, he's
fantastic in the ring. You got to give it to him, and I think they've
a safe pair of hands to put him with.
They've been very careful about. He's a natural heel because again, there are people that don't like him for real because of things in the past and that. But like, I think he's done well to win people over to an extent that he actually become quite a baby face, even though it was kind of like some people don't like me. The best way to do it is how they started it with the Miz, and now he's just straight up taking on the heel persona, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I think he's going to do a lot of work because, again, people want to boo this guy. A few extra comments here as well. We've got Wilbert Reyes saying hi, and a load of things that I don't think coming up in our stream there, but I assume they're emojis. But either way, Wilbert, thanks for coming along. Good night to you, buddy. And Snack Kings, congratulations, Mercedes Money. It's rumors that Naomi getting the trademark as Trinity Fatu. Wow. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, mate. I haven't even seen what happened on the New Japan show last night.
Spoiler alert.
I heard, no, I did hear that she, I assume I saw something that made me think she was champ anyway. I wasn't going to watch it. Don't worry, I won't spoil it. But interesting to see that about apparently Trinity Fatu getting trademarked as well, so that'd be interesting to see. But once again, Wilbert, Snack Kings, thank you guys for joining us again on this stream, and appreciate that you're with us last night on the build-up show. And we'll hope to see you more going forward. Anyone that's watching, whether live or on demand, let us know, guys, what did you think of the Chamber overall, and what you think about these matches that we're talking about. Of course, now we're about to get into the main event, but before we do, just want to give a little quick shout out. We mentioned it last night on the stream, how Rob, of course, key contributor to this channel, couldn't be with us last night because he was, he had other duties, and that was that he was supporting his wife in the imminent birth of their baby. And I'm pleased to report everyone that we have a healthy, happy baby in Cody. What a name, Michelle. We got Cody, the final entrant to the Chamber of last night, I guess you could say. Arrived late last night, and thrilled to have that news. And we want to send our love and congratulations, of course, to Rob, Lindsay, and of course to baby Cody as well. With that in mind, Rob, let us know, mate. When's Cody joining us on the pod? It's going to be an interesting one. As soon as we get first words, I'm hoping the first word is, I don't know, a wrestling themed one. Maybe a Cody Rhodes related one would be quite cool as well. But here we go. A few extra comments here. Snack King says 10 out of 10. There we go. High praise for that show last night. Look, up until this point, mate, I would agree with you. 10 out of 10. We're about to get to something that wasn't bad, but
it wasn't great.
It wasn't ideal. But we'll get to that just about. Slack Kings also says, I think we get Bobby and Brock on Monday Night Raw to officially face Bray at WrestleMania. Yeah, that Bray Wyatt thing's got to come back into it somewhere, hasn't it? So hopefully we'll get an answer for that quite soon. I assume more in SmackDown though, because he's more of a SmackDown guy, I think, right? So, but
Brock and Bobby are both Raw, aren't they?
Yeah, the whole thing's confusing. The whole draft and brand.
There's a rumor that there is going to be another draft after Mania, but
the whole calendar needs fixing. But hey, that's another conversation for another day. What we're going to talk about now, though, of course, is the main event: Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. Now, do not misunderstand this, people. This isn't because I fully expected Sami to win or that I 100% wanted him to win. As we said on a build-up show last night, I would have been happy with both results. It was just about how they got there, and I was fully committed to whatever they do will be great, I'm sure. And it was good. It was good. A lot of it was great. But for me, the Jey Uso thing kind of fell flat, and everything that came after it, therefore, felt like there had been something missing in between.
I don't take issue with the Jey Uso thing.
Okay.
Because I think we were all expecting him to
choose. Good point. Good point.
So in fact, they defied that expectation. So actually, I think that was interesting. Because once Jimmy came out, we're like, well, if Jimmy's here, Jay's got to be here somewhere. So I wasn't so mad about that. How long they can eke that angle out, though, because we've got, 6 weeks in the run into Mania now? That's a long time to draw this part of the storyline out.
Without a PLE, where do we get the commitment from Jey on either side? I mean, that was it. Look, you're right. To credit where it's due, it was kind of obvious he was going to do something. So to not do something is not a bad thing. This is probably going somewhere else storyline-wise, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I don't want to be one of those people going, well, I didn't get the answers last night, so I'm annoyed. It's just that because he weren't going to win, that's one thing. But then we also didn't get anything definitive there. It just felt a bit flat because, yes, as expected, Kevin Owens come out and made the save. And some people were even happy about the fact that those two, they didn't even like Kevin and Sami didn't even properly like acknowledge each other that much. Yeah, it was still this kind of, and hey, cool. But it just felt so flat to me. Like I was drained, and it wasn't just that Sami didn't win. Like it was, I was ready to have that nuclear heat on the opposite side, and I didn't have that either. And I just
so much in the build up to this. And again, I'm going to say something a bit unpopular, but it's true. Roman I think he's a great heel. And I think the heat he was getting last night, how on earth WWE Network are going to edit the language in that to make it PG friendly is beyond me. They're going to have to mute the whole show. Like, he's become a heel in a way I don't think any of us thought he would. And a lot of that is down to the work of the people around him. But it worked. Let's be frank, though. He's not an amazing wrestler, is he? He's got his kind of basic move repertoire. So it was never going to be a set the world alight masterclass.
It was about the emotion. Yeah, it was all about emotion.
It was all about the emotion. For me, the build-up at the start, it felt like they were stood there for just a little too long. I was like at the table, like, can someone just put their hands on someone, please? Like,
because it's that soaking it in and taking it and all that kind of stuff, soaking it up and taking it in. Sorry, but they had done that on SmackDown, and I think that was a big concern we all had last night, and I definitely think that played into it.
And then it's, I mean, like the interaction with like Sami's wife and everything, and I thought Roman did that really, really well. But yeah, it felt a little bit flat. But I'm wondering if the thing is that I thought the Rumble was really good this year, especially in comparison to last year. So you've got the Rumble. If this PLE finishes up here, are they ever going to be able to go any higher for Mania? And I wonder if it was a little bit of a deliberate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
Build towards Mania.
Yeah, because it would have been a peak of if Sami, we talked about last night, if Sami would have won, it would have been a peak that maybe they definitely couldn't kind of surpass anytime soon. But and kind of muddied the waters in other areas such as, you know, Cody Rhodes' storyline. But yeah, what we could have had was that nuclear heat, and I just don't feel like we really got it because of the way the Jay thing was handled. Like it was just so,
and the lack of interaction between Kevin and Sami. Actually, like I think everyone's been so well. They're going to build towards Kevin and Sami versus the Usos, but actually, you know, Kevin's done Sami over before. Are they going to align that easily and that quickly?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean. It's a tough one because again, this isn't me saying I didn't enjoy it. Like I did enjoy a lot about it. It's just something felt flat for me. And again, I compared it a lot last night to Drew not winning in Cardiff. I think that last night it felt like that was going to be the case. Maybe it was just because I was watching from home. It felt a little bit different, but it just felt like it had that extra sting to it because we kind of knew it wouldn't happen, but at least we would have got this progression. And look, things can happen on Raw and SmackDown. Don't get me wrong, but without a PLE, where do these big steps start kind of, you know, taking place? So it's a bit confusing in that sense. Going to get to a few more Stat Kings comments here. Women's Elimination Chamber really surprised me. Having Liv Morgan go out first should never happen, in my opinion. Definitely going to Carmella, then Natalya. Don't hit me, guys. No, don't worry, mate. We've all got different opinions here, but no, I kind of see where you're coming from there. And again, I was all about praising Liv earlier on. But here we go. It says, I thought Roman was going to do his bicep submission hold on Zayn to win. That would have been an interesting way to do it. The match in the middle felt confusing. Also talking about muting pay-per-views. Look, stranger things have happened, mate. And of course, they don't want certain words to shine through in future if they can help it. Yeah, that part he got in Sami Family face, telling him he messed up on me. That was great. It was so like Roman's performance in this was fantastic. I'll come back to that in just a minute. But having him think that Zayn was going to win felt great until it went too long, and that's where I saw it going flat. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there as well, mate. But yeah, that just want to touch on Roman Reigns. The family dynamic was fantastic. I think Sami's wife played up to it fantastically. Having the kids there as well was great. But Roman, and I was talking about this a lot last night when I was watching it. It's just that his performance has stepped up unbelievably with this new version of his character over the last 2 years, the head of the table stuff. But So much so that he did it a lot in the lockdown where there were no fans and he was playing up to the camera and he was just trusting that what he says, he does these amazing off-mic promos is what I'm getting at, where he just kind of talks crap to the person or to the camera without a mic, and it's fantastic. And he just trusts as well facial expressions that the production crew will pick up on it. And he says so much. Last night, there were so many times I was just smiling, being like, this guy is good. Like, just playing up to it. The fans in the audience there are dealing with the heat that is just there from emotion and the atmosphere being there. But then he has that extra, so they don't need to see the close-ups or anything like that. They're not going to see it till they watch it back on TV or anything like that. But for the TV audience, it brought us in that extra dimension just by seeing the way that Roman plays up to the camera. It's just, trust that the camera is going to take in the little nuanced things he does.
Yeah, and that's something he's definitely got really, really, really good at. How much coaching he's had around it, because let's face it, putting Paul Heyman with him was a stroke of genius on behalf of WWE. It was like his promo work improved massively. He doesn't quite have the natural gift of the gab that the Usos have. They're very, very good at cutting a promo. And last night it was really interesting to see him only come out with Paul Heyman. I thought Jimmy might be there. I thought Solo might be there. That was a bit of a surprise.
I think Solo made more sense because they did do this whole thing, the SmackDown before last, didn't they? Where it was like, you guys have to watch from home about the Usos. Yeah. So I think they wanted to keep that intrigue whether or not the Usos listened. But Solo was confusing not to be there. He hasn't been there for much of the past few weeks with the Bloodline.
The way Roman does that one-on-one stuff, and it gives, like you said, that extra dynamic. Because when we're sat at home, we don't get that electric feeling that I think everyone else got in that arena last night.
Not to the same degree, of course. Like it does kind of come through the screen somewhat, but like to add the extra layer of the TV production, just being so slick, and again, Roman knowing that I'm just going to do these things, and this production crew better pick up on it. And my goodness, I'm glad they do.
Yeah, it's something that he's got really, really good at. And the thing is, for me, with Roman and thinking about him going forward, if and when the Bloodline ends eventually, where does he go from there? Because he's not going to have the Usos around him.
Does he just I don't know, babyface on his own, like where redemption is very
well babyface, did he? People just didn't accept.
Yeah, but it was a different Roman, or a different level now. Because this is the interesting thing as well. Last night was the first time, maybe in the entire run, or at least in a long time, that Roman was just straight up heel. Like, he was just straight up heel. Because again, much like Seth Rollins, he's been the cool heel. He's been the coolest heel in the business for a while, Roman Reigns. So, and the Bloodline, and even Sami. That's why
him, but wearing a shirt. But he got. I haven't seen someone come out to that much heat, other than Prison Dom, of course.
But it was a respectful. It's like. They were chanting that years ago. He used to get that kind of those boos when they wanted him to be the cookie cutter babyface, and it weren't working. You go to a certain town or against a certain guy, and he'd get the FU Romans and he'd get the boos. But last night it was like that was Montreal going, "You're such a great heel. We're doing it. We're saying these words, FU Roman," which sounds weird to say, but out of respect. That was that ovation he got in a negative sense last night. Make no mistake about it. It was about him being a fantastic performer and the respect, I think, from the Montreal crowd. Like they were going, we are playing along with the show here. We're not being like, you're the cool guy, we're going to cheer, or you're the thing shoved down our throat, so we're going to boo. That was straight up respect, in my opinion.
It will be really interesting to see how the heel heat comes through in Hollywood for Mania, because I don't think it's going to feel the same.
I think the Cody story is strong enough. So, but then again, we honestly, as much as we say Cody, we don't know. Will there be a 2-night situation? Is Sami going back into the title picture? We talked about it a lot last night. Could we go for triple threat? Could we go for a night one, night two? To be really honest with you,
I think WWE have got a couple of options on the table at the moment. They're very aware.
Like they're not sure.
I think they're not sure. I think they're going to see how things play out, because. Look, I don't think the Sami and Roman story is done.
Yeah.
The Sami and Jay story isn't done. The Jay and Roman story isn't done. Cody's obviously in the title picture because he was always going to be, Rumble or not, let's be frank. They've got it on a very, very, very fine shoestring at the moment, and they've got to get this right, because they can either make one small decision that blows the whole thing out the water in a good way or a bad way. They either peak a little too early, or they let it drag on just a little bit too long, and the whole thing goes from underneath them. So WWE Creative have got they've got a very, very fine balance on their hands that they've got to get right with this.
Yeah, so great opportunities, but a lot of risks with it. And of course, that was a big part of what we were saying last night and build up as well. But I think even more so now. Again, they either don't know what they're doing or they're open to something else and they're looking to see where it goes. But, you know, again, I know a lot of times you get people going, oh, guys, just give it a rest. Maybe there's a reason for what happened last night. And I do hope that is it. And I'm not trying to be like it was terrible or anything like that. It was still a really good match and a good ending to it, but it weren't quite the moment I was hoping for. And that's not strictly Sami winning. That could have been Roman winning, but the execution wasn't there for me. And I think if it's because they've just now pivoted and they're about to stretch, because like this can't be done with Sami. Like I say, it's not done with Jay. It's going somewhere. And it feels like he's muddied the waters even further. And we were saying yesterday, should this have been here? Should this have been SummerSlam? We just got to trust they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think they do. I don't think they're doing this randomly. I think they have genuine 3 or 4 options on the table that they've planned out very thoroughly and they're monitoring week to week. I think WWE creative are not stupid enough to go down the fly by the seat your pants route anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I also think there's always going to be a little bit of flatness. That the men's chamber match was so high energy and so strong right before the main event. We were all going to feel it after that as well.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, we've got 6 weeks worth of Raws and SmackDowns to get through as well. And I think they are trying to have more big moments on Raw and SmackDown to keep the viewership high.
Yeah, I mean, there was no PLE in December either, so it's not kind of out of the ordinary for them to do this kind of thing now. So,
am I having some sort of strange brain issue? I'm sure there was there not a Saudi PLE in March of last year?
Elimination Chamber was in Saudi.
It was
last year. And sometimes in recent years they've gone fast lane as well, but I'm surprised they're not. But I guess they don't want to overdo it. And like you say, maybe they want to put importance on Raw and SmackDown, which is definitely something that happened as soon as Triple H came in. So maybe we're going to get more of that as well. A few more comments here as well. I don't think Snack King says, I don't think he will, but IC title champion. Maybe, but it's things you can put Zayn in. Okay, so as far as other places you can put Sami Zayn into, the IC title, suggesting here match against Gunther, another dream match. That would be interesting. I can see the dynamic working very well between him, but there's so much going on with the Bloodline situation, it would feel rushed. But I wouldn't be opposed to that happening and that being Sami's next story. Do you know what I mean? So that wouldn't be a bad idea.
I don't think they're going to have Gunther drop that belt anytime soon, though.
No, unless it is. I mean, it was brought up last night that it could be Sheamus in London, which I wouldn't be against either. Snack King says,
I love that.
Exactly. I mean, it's another example. It felt so close at Clash, but hey, if they were holding on for something even bigger, hey, I'm all for it. Snack King also says, I just don't think they would put Zayn in WWE Championship match again. Look how they did Kofi Kingston. Yeah, we were talking about that a lot last night as well, weren't we? So it doesn't feel likely, but.
Yeah, he doesn't need a belt. I just feel like there's maybe it's just my calculations. I just feel like there's a bigger gap between this PLE and Mania than last year.
Yeah,
I looked at the schedule earlier, and there isn't anything at the moment between Mania and Money in the Bank.
Oh, that'll be filled in. They'll do.
Yeah, they will fill it in.
Backlash or whatever stupid name they're giving it these days. But yeah, no, I'm surprised there's nothing in between now. But at the same time, I get it because again, we shouldn't be that surprised because it's December and because of, like we said earlier on, how they're gonna look like at least put a lot of emphasis on Raw and SmackDown. Again, we didn't get answers with Bray, so that's got to happen on Raw and SmackDown. So whatever happens next with Brock's got to happen on Raw and SmackDown. So hey, credit where it's due. I am way more invested in watching Raw and SmackDown the next 6 weeks to find out where the hell we're going with this stuff. So hey, it's working. That's what you want ultimately. So got to give it to him for that. But right, we start to wind it down here, guys. But if you join us live and you've joined at the tail end of the stream, where was you? No, I'm joking. Thank you very much for joining us either point in the stream. But what I want to get to is that you can always go back and watch from the very start, guys. We've been breaking down Elimination Chamber. Whether or not you watch this live or you watch this slightly behind live or you watch it on a replay, we really do appreciate you joining us here for the Elimination Chamber recap and review on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Last night, of course, we did the build-up show. That's how we do these PLAs. We start with a build-up show. Well, sorry, before that, we start with a predictions and preview if you're new here. Then we go in with a build-up, and then we hit you with a recap and review. And it's been a great time covering Elimination Chamber this weekend, Michelle. Really do appreciate having you on, as we said as well, all the extra special guests that we had on the build-up show. Just as we start wrapping things up, though, what are your overall thoughts on the Chamber weekend and everything that surrounded it, and now this final road to WrestleMania?
I think I'm enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it. I think I like the fact we're going for quite a long, steady build towards Mania as well. I like the Chamber weekend. I think, as we were saying yesterday, it's a little bit of a victim of timing with the location of the PLE and Sami Zayn and all of that. But I think it delivered really well in a slightly different way to how I think some of us wanted and expected. But I think it was a really good, solid show. And I think for it not being one of the big PLEs, in that sense, I think it surpassed a lot of people's expectations, definitely, including mine. Like I've really enjoyed it, and I'm fully invested in where the hell they're going with a few different storylines now, which is good.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with it. I think it's been a great weekend overall. The Sami stuff for SmackDown, as much as I feel like that kind of took away from the Chamber and did play into my part of, not enjoying the final moments as much. I do think we talked about percentage yesterday, didn't we? About the percentage of Sami winning. I'm going to go on 80% of how much I enjoyed the execution is basically what I'm going to say. And some of that 20% was kind of left over on SmackDown. Some of it was left over in kind of the future, it seems. So I'm sure they could bring me back up to 100 there. A few kind of extra comments before we get out of here as well. Snack King says, Jay White is officially done with New Japan, guys. Wow, very interesting. We talked quite a bit about that last night, didn't we, Snack King? Because you brought it out there as far as, where could we go with that? So, of course, you saw what we spoke about. For those that didn't know, check out the build-up show. Again, it's not always just about conversations that are relevant to the night itself. We do go beyond that as well and talk about the future. M7 MD Nightmare, once again, mate, thank you for joining us like you did last night on the build-up show and being back here for the recap and review. Says, hey there, after watching Elimination Chamber, I now truly believe that Roman gonna keep the titles to SummerSlam or at least Survivor Series, because the 1,000 number means a lot. Again, we talked about this a lot last night, but you might be right, mate. It seems at the moment, Cody's doing it, but maybe not. And maybe if he does, it's not at WrestleMania because they want to get to that number. Stat King says, could White join WWE and have one more match in AEW before heading to WWE? A possibility there, mate. You never know. Maybe he will tie up loose ends on the indie circuit before jumping to a big contract at WWE. Also says, Michelle, I'm mad at NXT right now. They ain't got Blair, Davenport, and Saraya back yet. And also,
I don't run NXT.
She's the booker. I guess maybe because you're a woman. He's saying you should appreciate. M7MD Nightmare says, but honestly, I don't think Cody deserves to pin Roman yet. All caps. I think maybe Randy deserves to capture the title. Oh, okay.
No, at least there is. Apparently, he's quietly preparing a comeback. Like he's commissioned a new pair of boots made and stuff. So
keep going into Randy versus Randy. Can you?
Oh, Miss Randy.
Can beat Randy. Gonna handle the situation. Hey, what I would say is that Cody should do it, and Randy versus Cody would be a great feud after that. It just, the only problem with that is we left off in a really good place with Riddle, and whether or not they come back as a team, if they don't, they come back separate, it will be a bit painful. But it's kind of fizzled out because of the injury, because Riddle being away for a bit as well. So that's it's not ideal, but yeah, I guess they could just move straight away from that. It would be interesting to see. But Randy had a new lease of life last year, and that was all because of the tag team with Matt Riddle. So it'd be interesting to see. But then again, I'm sure he'd be pretty pleased to face off against his old buddy Cody Rhodes in the WWE title match anyway. So
yeah, and do they give him that title record? And actually, does Randy go out on top? And is Cody putting him out long term, like being the legend killer himself? Is that what triggers a Cody heel turn? Or
we're going right into the future. I love it.
About 2 years into the future now. I think. I'd love to see Randy come back and cause some problems.
Definitely. That's a great points raised there, guys. Everyone that's contributed on the chat today, and also those that are watching on demand. Once again, we appreciate you as well. Please drop your comments even after this stream to let us know what you thought of Elimination Chamber, where you think some of these interesting topics might take us as well. You know, what will happen with Jay White? Again, we went in depth on this on our build-up show, so please check that out. But yeah, what do you think is going to happen there as well? Let us know on that stream or on this stream, and also a few extra kind of comments there about Randy Orton, a possible return, and where that could go as far as the Cody Rhodes connection as well. I definitely think they got to do something and dance together, as they say, somewhere down the line. But hey, I've had a good dancing partner tonight with Michelle. Appreciate you being with me once again and being here for the other streams this weekend as well. It's been really good chatting wrestling with you. Of course, you can find more from Michelle on the other Rebellious Noise channel, such as the Rebellious Noise football channel as well. And of course, more from myself right here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel and all of our Rebellious Noise channels throughout the network. We got a channel for food and drink. We've got a channel for film and TV. We've got a channel for wrestling. Of course, you're watching right now. We've got channels for, our main channel where we've covered music throughout the years as well. And football, as I mentioned. But either way, whatever you like, we probably cover some of it for Rebellious Noise. So we'd appreciate if you spread out your love for us throughout those other channels as well. But of course, it's mainly about the wrestling stuff here on this pro wrestling channel. So we appreciate you joining us tonight for that as well. But either way, thank you all for joining us. Once again, thank you to Michelle, and we will see you on the next stream. Thanks very much, guys.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.